Hi everyone. You ever look up at the full moon or walk through a silent forest and feel something ancient? A connection to something deeper, older than the world you know. You're not alone. For thousands of years, our ancestors felt that same pull. They didn't see the world as just rocks and trees. They saw it as alive, brimming with spirit and energy. This is the heart of paganism. Now, hold on. When I say paganism, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Maybe spooky rituals from a horror movie, or strange figures in dark cloaks. Yeah, Hollywood has had a field day. But the reality is so much more beautiful and profound. Paganism isn't one single religion. Think of it more like a huge ancient tree with countless branches. It's an umbrella term for a vast number of earth-based, polytheistic spiritual paths that existed long before the major world religions we know today. These paths were incredibly diverse, stretching from the Norse warriors who honored Odin and Thor, to the Celtic druids who saw divinity in the oak groves of ancient Britain and Ireland. Think of the ancient Greeks, with their vibrant pantheon of gods on Mount Olympus, each governing a different aspect of life, from love to war. Or the ancient Egyptians, whose entire civilization was built around the cycles of the Nile and the journey of the sun god, Ra. All of these, in their own way, fall under that pagan umbrella. So what's the common thread? What ties these seemingly different beliefs together? The biggest one is reverence for nature. For pagans, the earth isn't something to be conquered or used up. It is the divine. The changing of the seasons isn't just a weather pattern. It's a sacred cycle of birth, growth, death, and rebirth. They celebrated this cycle with festivals, like the winter solstice Yule, celebrating the return of the light, or Beltane in the spring, celebrating fertility and life. Another key idea is polytheism, the belief in many gods and goddesses. Unlike a single, all-powerful deity, pagan pantheons often reflect the complexities of life itself. There were gods of the harvest and gods of the storm, goddesses of wisdom and goddesses of the hunt. This allowed people to connect with different divine aspects, depending on their needs. It wasn't about a distant god in the heavens. It was about divinity that was present, right here, in the world around them and within themselves. The divine feminine, the goddess, was often just as important, if not more so, than the masculine god. But then came a huge shift in history. The rise of monotheistic religions like Christianity saw paganism decline. Its temples were destroyed, its followers converted, often by force, and its beliefs were demonized. The very word pagan comes from the Latin paganus, which meant country dweller or rustic. It became a derogatory term for those who clung to the old ways. For centuries, these ancient beliefs were forced into the shadows, preserved only in folklore, myths, and hidden practices. It's a story that could have ended there. But here's the twist, it didn't. In the last century, we've seen a massive resurgence, a reawakening. Movements like Wicca, modern druidry and heathenry are bringing the old gods and the old ways back to life. They're not trying to perfectly reconstruct the past, but to adapt these ancient, nature-honoring principles for the 21st century. They're finding magic not in wands and spells from fantasy books, but in the magic of a seed sprouting, the power of a thunderstorm, the wisdom in a quiet moment of meditation. They're rebuilding a relationship with the earth, seeing it as a living being to be respected, not a resource to be exploited. In a world facing ecological crisis, this message feels more relevant than ever, doesn't it? So what does this ancient journey teach us? It shows us that there are countless ways to find meaning and connection. It reminds us of a time when humanity saw itself as part of nature, not separate from it. And it proves that beliefs, even when suppressed for 1,000 years, can never truly be extinguished. They lie dormant, like seeds in the soil, waiting for the right season to grow again. So the next time you feel that pull, that sense of wonder in the natural world, just know you're tapping into something deep and timeless. A spiritual ancestry that connects all of us to the earth, the sky, and the ancient wild magic that still flows through our world.